Okay, now let's look at the picture briefs. This is where you choose a picture to stimulate your theme or your idea. This particular theme, number 6, is all about social and political issues of today. So looking at the various photography and images, looking and using that as a starting point to create your own project. Any kind of work which may be social or politically linked. We've already looked at artists that do this, the people like Shepard Fairey or contemporary street artists that we may have explored, would also provide you with an interesting starting point. Okay, this is the next visual theme starting point. Vibrant colours that can be found in the natural world. So you'll be looking at things like here we can see textures of decaying bark, we can see beautiful seascapes, we can see some interesting Sharon fruit and some lovely flowers. Really good for looking and exploring colour and nature. Really easy to find information on as well. Okay, next one. Oops. Right. Okay. Images that consider the word atmospheric and what it means to you. So in these particular pieces here, we've got a piece by Russell Bailey and some photography work by Chris Hatcher. You can see both of these show examples of atmosphere within their work. Okay, so we've got, you know, really stormy seascapes, and we've got these kind of gloomy atmospheric buildings here. Reminds me of the bombed out church a little bit. So whatever you're producing here will be about creating an atmosphere. You could look at artists like Turner with his stormy seascapes. There's numerous artists. If you choose this theme, I'll be going through those as well later. Okay. Next visual theme, here we are, is industrial spaces or structures. So looking at the space around us, the architecture, and seeing how this creates, you know, linear patterns and shapes. Industrial spaces refers to the inside and the outside of the buildings. Things like skylines and cityscapes also would be an option for exploring. Okay. Interesting shapes and compositions that can be found in domestic environments. This is about taking the everyday items and making interesting effects with them. So here we've got reflective kind of, you know, toothbrush holders. We've got bowls in the kitchen. So it's kind of taking something and playing around with it and being imaginative. You could look at reflective objects in your kitchen, saucepans, cups and saucers, anything that you can stack and maybe create interesting shapes and compositions from domestic environments. So you could even include things like inside your wardrobe, with shoes, with fashion. Really, it's a very broad question indeed, that one. Okay. Right, moving through to the written briefs. The written briefs are really descriptions. Again, these can provide you with a theme or a starting point for your project. So let me just go back up here. Sorry, I skipped. Okay. So first of all, you've got nighttime. Nighttime themes or events have always inspired and informed the arts. You could take inspiration from a subject or specific outcome by an artist, designer or maker and develop a piece of work around this. So nighttime themes, anything to do with the night. If you're interested in painting, you could look at an artist called Liam Spencer who paints the nighttime in Manchester. You know, there are numerous artists you could look at. Theme of looking through layers. An arrangement of objects can become distorted when translucent. layers is placed in front or over, grouping them together. The barrier or filter could be plastic wrapping, plastic sheeting, fine mesh, transparent nylon, wax varnish, frosted or patterned glass. Experimenting with layers and recording the effects to create outcomes. So and alter the appearance. So you can actually look at layers of things put together to alter the appearance of them. And you could wrap objects with fabrics or paper or cling film and create interesting effects. Extreme contrasts. Explore extremes such as dark and light, complementary colours, hot and cold, smooth and textured, large and small, fast and slow, and high and low. So that is all about opposites and using this idea of opposites to create your project. Climate. The climate affects people and their surroundings throughout the world in both positive and negative ways. Create a response inspired by this subject. So you've got the idea of the climate and how it has its effects. You could look at seasons, different geographical elements, and how climate might create some ideas for you. Art, craft and design for a production. Develop alternative designs for a production you're inspired by. You might focus on a set, a costume, promotional materials, concept art, spatial effects, moving image or animation. This one's really good for fashion. If you want to do something to do with costume, you might look at a particular theatrical production or a piece of music and use that to stimulate an idea and create a whole range of maybe costume outcomes. Okay. On page 14 of this document, you'll also find a list of artists and craftspeople and designers you could use. So if you're not quite sure of which theme, but you know you want to do something to do, say, with textiles or fashion, you could look at the fashion designers to get ideas and then make them sort of suitable to one of the themes. If there isn't a theme that inspires you, you can create your own through discussion with me, but to be honest, they are very vague, so you know you can interpret them in whatever way you want. So you've got your lists of artists by theme, which is quite interesting, and you've got your written briefs, and if you scroll up you then go on to your image briefs, picture briefs, if you want to call them that. And then at the beginning, we had the single word briefs, okay, which is right at the start. Okay, don't worry about the first few pages. They just instruct as if it's a exam paper. It's not an exam paper. We're just simply using this to help with there we go, to help with the starting points for your project. Have a read through this. You only have to choose one and think very carefully, because this is going to be the main focus for your coursework project. And we'll be beginning our practical work on this very soon.